Section 18, which is about audit committee. So as we know, Companies Act also provides for the requirement of audit committee for listed entities. However, there are certain requirements which are different from what is prescribed under Companies Act and listing regulations. So we will take a quick look at these requirements which are peculiarly different. The composition of audit committee under Companies Act states minimum 3 directors with at least 50% of independent directors, whereas under listing regulation it states that minimum 3 directors with at least 2/3 of independent directors. Now if you see practically, if there are 3 directors, then you cannot have 50% independent, so it will anyways be 2 directors of 3 who will be independent directors, which is the same requirement under listing regulations. However, if the audit committee has more than 3 members, these requirements need to be meticulously followed under listing regulations to ensure that 2/3 of the directors are independent directors. Under Companies Act, majority of members including its chairperson shall be person with ability to read and understand the financial statements. However, being more stricter, listing regulations provide that all members shall be financially literate and at least one member shall have accounting or related financial management expertise. About the chairperson, the Companies Act does not specify separately. However, under listing regulations, it is prescribed that the chairperson of the audit committee shall be an independent director. Further, the quorum requirement is also not prescribed under Companies Act. That is why there will be 2 members present at the meeting shall qualify to be a valid quorum at the meeting of audit committee. However, under listing regulations, the requirement is more particular, which states that 2 members or 1/3, whichever is greater, with at least 2 independent directors present at the meeting. That is why you need to ensure that it is not just 2 members or 1/3, whichever is greater is present, but at least 2 independent directors are present at the audit committee meeting to qualify to have valid quorum for the meeting. The scope and terms of reference of audit committee have been prescribed under Part C of Schedule 2 under listing regulations, which are also specified under Section 177 subsection 4. About nomination and remuneration committee. So friends, just to give some brief background, initially this was a non-mandatory committee under the listing agreement. So this was not specifically prescribed to be mandatory for all the listed companies, though in certain cases it was applicable under the Companies Act. Now in synchronization with the Companies Act 2013, this has been made a mandatory requirement under the listing regulations, where the composition of the committee is same in case of Companies Act as well as listing regulations, which says that minimum 3 directors with at least 50% of independent directors should comprise the valid nomination and remuneration committee. What is further stated that chairperson of the listed entity, whether executive or non-executive, may be appointed as a member of the committee but shall not chair such committee. The reason behind this is the chairperson normally has an upper hand, or rather a more holistic view about appointment of new directors or the remuneration of directors, which shall apply for either executive or non-executive directors. So it is important that such chairperson gives a value added contribution to the decisions of nomination and remuneration committee. However, the chairperson cannot overpower the committee, and that is why he can be a member but not chairperson of such committee. The scope or terms of reference of the nomination and remuneration committee have been prescribed under Part D of Schedule 2, which are also covered under Companies Act under Section 178, 2, 3 and 4. Stakeholders Relationship Committee, which is also provided under Section 178 of the Companies Act 2013. The composition of the committee is not prescribed and it is only stated that the chairperson shall be non-executive directors and the board can decide other members as it deems appropriate. Role of the Stakeholders Relationship Committee is prescribed under Part D of Schedule 2, which is primarily to look into all the shareholders' grievances, redressal, or any such matters which may be applicable for the shareholders. 21 is about Risk Management Committee. The listing regulations prescribe that the top 100 companies, top 100 listed entities determined on the basis of market cap as on the end of the immediate previous financial year shall be required to constitute a risk management committee. And chairperson of such committee shall be a member of the board and other members can be from the board or other management team. Now friends, what is important here to note is, while it's a board committee, it has been prescribed. Regulation 22 is about vigil mechanism, that is whistleblower policy. As also provided under section 177, the companies need to put in place a vigil mechanism which will provide for adequate safeguard against victimization of person who avail the mechanism. And this mechanism shall provide for direct access to the chairperson of the audit committee in appropriate or exceptional cases. Regulation 23, which is related party transactions. So as we saw in the beginning that listing regulations were introduced on 2nd September 2015, where the requirement of related party transactions were introduced with immediate effect. Most of these requirements are now in synchronization with Companies Act. However, we will briefly check what is the difference between the listing regulation requirement and the Companies Act requirements. Friends, we always see that Companies Act provides for a certain requirements, but SEBI prefers to have a stricter requirement applicable for the listed entities. The view that they have is, while the Companies Act provides for all the companies, the SEBI governed entities, which are listed entities, have their obligations to their shareholders and stakeholders on a larger scale, and that is why SEBI has always prescribed for certain stricter norms as against the Companies Act. The definition of related party under Companies Act is prescribed under section 2 subsection 76. However, in case of listing regulations, it says it can be a related party as defined under Companies Act or under the accounting standards. So even if a certain related party may not fit to be a related party as per Companies Act, but if at all under the accounting standards definition it qualifies to be a related party, it shall then become a related party for the purpose of listing regulations. The definition of related party transaction is provided under section 188 under Companies Act. But under listing regulations, it has been prescribed as a transfer of resources, services or obligations between listed entity and related party, regardless of whether a price is charged, and it could be a single transaction or group of transactions in a contract. Friends, it is a very wide definition which has been given under listing regulations. So you have to be very much cautious while checking any transaction between the company and the related party, whether it is about any transfer of resources or services or obligations between the entity and the party, and even if whether the price is charged or not, it would then qualify to be a related party transaction under the listing regulations. Further, listing regulations specify material related party transaction which is not specifically defined under the Companies Act. So, as per listing regulations, any transaction during a financial year exceeding 10% of the annual consolidated turnover of the entity as per last audited financial statement shall qualify to be a material related party transaction. Listing regulations provide that all material related party transactions shall require shareholders' approval. Earlier, as we all know, in Companies Act, the requirement was for a special resolution for the approval of related party transaction. Further, under Companies Amendment Act 2015, it was modified to have as an ordinary resolution to approve all such transactions. In line with the same, the listing regulations also state that ordinary resolution shall be required for approval of such material related party transaction. But the further point to note is very much crucial, where under Companies Act, only the concerned related party with whom the transaction is happening is abstained from voting. However, under listing regulations, all related parties are required to abstain from voting. So here friends, we need to understand that any related party, whether it is party to such transaction or not, cannot vote on such material transactions which are being put up to the shareholders for their approval. While the Companies Act does not prescribe for any prior approval for the related party transactions, listing regulations are particular which states that all RPTs shall require prior approval of the audit committee. The concept of omnibus approval has been specified under the listing regulations, which says that there is a specific criteria to be followed and any transaction which is expected over the year can be approved by the audit committee at the beginning of the year. That means by giving a kind of omnibus approval for such transactions. Now there could be a situation where a transaction may happen during the year with a related party which was not envisaged in the past. In such cases, up to an amount of rupees 1 crore per transaction, such transaction can be entered into by the entity with the related party without seeking prior approval of the audit committee, and which can subsequently be notified to the audit committee. Such requirement was not prescribed under the Companies Act earlier. However, with Rule 6A of the Companies Meetings of Board and its Powers Rules 2014, this has also been introduced under the Companies Act. Listing regulations also prescribe that the company shall have a policy on material related party transactions, which is not prescribed under the Companies Act, and such policies shall also be placed on the company's website. There are two particular exemptions to the related party transactions, or rather all the compliances under these regulations, which are for the transactions between two government companies or the transactions between holding company and its wholly owned subsidiary.